Hey, Anzi here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I would like to show you one of the most underrated VFX ever. If there is something that everyone likes in game, it's obviously VFX and particles. Well, today, you're lucky, cause I'm gonna show you an effect that I import or recreate in almost every Unity project. This effect is really easy to implement. You can use it in any type of game, whether it's an FPS, an action game, 2D, 3D, whatever. It's always usable and it will make your game pop out with just a few clicks. This effect is what I like to call ambient particles. Ambient particles are particles simply floating in the air in order to improve the atmosphere of a scene. It had some movement and life, making a static environment alive. It is also widely used in AAA games. In Kina Bridge of Spirit, you can notice some moss floating in the air, improving the forest environment. In The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, you can notice a lot of particles that represent the fire in a volcano. So today, I'm gonna show you how you can go from this scene to this scene using Unity. But this effect can be reused in different environments such as the desert, for example. So here we are in Unity 2022. As you can see, I've set up a tiny scene, which is actually a volcano. And if we hit play, as you can see, it's a very basic setup, but a little bit boring. So our goal is gonna be to improve this scene by using our ambient particles. Alright, so first thing first, ensure that you have VFX Graph installed. So to do that, go under Window, Package Manager, check that you are under Unity Registry, search for Visual, and you should have Visual Effect Graph. In my case, it's already installed, but otherwise you will have to click on Install. Alright, let's jump into it. So, in your project, right click, go under Create, then Visual Effect, and Visual Effect Graph. And let's call it Ambient Particles. Great, let's open it. We have a very basic template provided by Unity in order to have some particles. We can also drag and drop it directly into our scene. Thanks to that, if we go under the game view, we can directly see how our particles behave in our scene. So that will be helpful later to see changes applied directly. Alright, let's begin. So first thing first, the spawn system. Here we have only 16 particles every time. So what we want is something a lot higher. Instead, we are going to type 2048. However, it might not be very convenient because we need something configurable for each scene. So we would like a way to change this value for each scene. In that case, instead, I'm going to create a property. It's going to be an int. Let's call it number of particles. Boom. We can set a default value. And drag and drop it into our graph. Alright, that's a lot cleaner. Now press Ctrl S in order to save. And let's go back under the game view to see if there is a difference. And not that much. So let's continue. So what I will do here is change the capacity. I will add something like 4076. Alright. And if we go back under the game view, that's a lot better. We see that we have a lot more particles. So, okay, so now that we have enough particles, we must change the behavior of these particles. Back into our graph, let's go under the system, press space, and set the position in a box, because what we want is to have like a box or an area where we will see these particles. Set the position mode to volume, and let's set the box size to something like, I don't know, 20 for example. Great, let's save that and check how it looks. And great, we already have something a lot better than before. It's not ready yet, but we progressively start to have something. However, it will be nice to be able to configure the size of the box later. So let's create another property. Here we're gonna call it size or area. We're gonna drag and drop it into our graph and set it to the size. As a default value, we're going to set 20. Let's save that and it should be the same. Perfect. So now we can control this directly through our property, which is a lot better. One thing we can notice is that our particles are going from the bottom to the top, and it will be nice if we could randomize a little bit this behavior. Let's create a property. This time it's gonna be a float. Let's call it speed, simply. And as a value, let's put something like 0.5. Great. And here, instead of just plugging the speed directly on both of this property, we are going to set a negate node. All right. And this way, our values are going to be between minus 0.5 and 0.5. And if we increase this value, you see that we have a bigger range, which is a lot better. So let's keep it to 0.5. Let's save. And if we go back into our game, all right, we can see that it goes in every direction, which is what we want here. And of course, we can randomize and play with the speed. Next, we go to the output. As the main texture, you can use the default particle. So this one is provided by Unity. However, as you can see, it's really ugly. In our case, I really suggest you to download these textures. It comes from the Kiddies website. I don't know if I pronounce it very well, but it's free and it's open source. I really recommend to check its website. You will find a lot of assets. So in my case, I will select the Circle 5 texture. All right. And if we go back to the game, I find it a lot more cleaner. And don't worry, you can download the texture from the description. Now let's work on the size. As you can see over time, our particle will start very small and step by step it will get bigger. So this is not what we want. Instead, we need to reverse this line. Alright, perfect. Now we go from 1 to 0. Let's save that. And that's really big. So let's add another container. It's going to be multiply size. And this way we can lower or increase the size of our particles. I like to have them really small, so in my case I would set the size to 0.1. So as you can see, it's really small. Maybe, I don't know, 0.2. Okay, that's nice, like that. I like that. And of course, just like before, you can create a property. Here, a float. And let's call it size, particle size, to be really precise and accurate. Great. Let's set the default value as 0.2. Drag and drop it and connect it. Now, obviously, we are going to work with the color. So let's create a property. And do not set it as color directly. Here's the trick. Here, what we need is gradient. Okay? Because we are going to set the color over life. And as you can see here, it's not a color property. It's gradient. Okay? So now, let's rename this under color over life. You can set the default parameter as white. That's perfectly fine because we will configure it directly from our scene. Save it and go back into the game. And that's clean for the moment. Now, from our scene, just select the ambient particles you dropped before. And now you will understand why we created all these properties. Every property is here. So we can override these properties in any scene for your need. So that's why this particle effect is very versatile. You can use it for many different use cases. In our case, like I already created a preset and I overrided the particle size and the color of a life. And here we are. We have some particles for our scene. And that's perfect. And by reusing the same effect but with different values, I can create for example some sand floating in the air. I can also create fireflies in a forest, for example. Additionally, you can create a lot of other effects. Alright, that's all for this video. I hope you enjoy it. Please, if you like it, consider subscribing. It helps a lot. Thank you so much and see you next time.